welcome back. And yes, I'm assuming this is not your first Talk Raytown episode, but if it is, welcome to Talk Raytown. I'm your host, Zac Sweets. And as you know, we talk about what is happening in the city of Raytown to keep everyone informed, plugged in, and connected. And so this week, we have Kevin Jean-Paul with Serve the World Charities. And welcome. It has been weeks, months. Yeah. I've been telling Jeff, I said, hey, we got to get these folks on. We got to talk. We got things to talk about. So I'm so glad that you're here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it being here.
So let's jump right into it because we were starting some good conversations, talking about what we're talking about. But let's start with you, and then we'll move over to Serve the World Charities.
Okay.
But we've run into each other at a few
all the time. We
broke
broke bread with each other. We done everything except for probably just ate with our families and where.
Yeah. Well, it seems only right that we come here and have a conversation and get to know each other more and learn more about Serve the World Charities. But how did you find your way to Raytown?
Man, that's a good question. Rent was cheap, so we got to come to Raytown. Being from Miami, Florida, it was way more cheaper than down in Florida. But with my wife and I, we moved from Lee Summit, and we said we want to come to Raytown because everyone was in Raytown at the time. You know, one of my best friends was here. My mother-in-law was a principal here. Well, she retired and came back. She's a principal again. My wife worked here for 12 years in the district. My sister-in-law was an interventionist, hemming up kids, at Spring Valley. So we were just here, So it just makes sense, we want to, and not saying Lee Summit doesn't have a room to grow, but we want to be in a community where we can actually be a part of it and be part of the change. So Raytown, where is that?
I mean, you're from Miami, but it sounds like you were always destined for Raytown.
Yeah.
You can't get away.
Yeah, if you talk about the Dolphins being trash, you're right. I got to come to the Chiefs. Facts.
Well, hey, always happy to have folks that want to be a part of the community.
Yeah.
What has been, there's the Raytown Rising 2040, and so Raytown's really looking forward.
Yeah.
What does it look like as somebody that moved into the community, that was accepted by the community, and what does that integration and being a part of everything felt like like for you?
It's exciting. I think the first thing I did wanted to just be part of the home association in a neighborhood. So I was like, who's like the people in Gregory Heights, so the 491 homes, how I get connected. They welcome me in. We have a fall festival every year.
Okay.
Our HO dues is like $40. So I was like, you get a fall festival, you get trash pickup, and you get people to come knock on your door and give you some cookies. I was like, this is amazing. And I became the treasurer at the HOA. Shout out to Frank Hunt. He was the alderman of our area. Welcomed me, embraced me. And then shout out to Mayor Mike as well. Say, hey, I want to be part of the city. And so you mentioned about the Planning and Zoning Committee. So I've been on that for almost 2 years now, and just being in the community, just being and seeing how Raytown has a lot of potential, a lot of bones, about a lot of history, that was there. So that was exciting. It definitely was embracing me and my family being here. My daughter went to New Trails. What is New Trails? 3 Trails. Okay, it was one of the preschools here, and then my wife being here for so long. So it's been great just to be here, to buy our first home here and just be part of the community.
Yeah, one of my first impressions when I started working with the Raytown community. I grew up coming through Raytown, right? If you're in the area, you got family in Raytown, or you got something that you're going to in Raytown. Back when Big Mamas used to be over here. Anyways, I'm sure.
Was that like a barbecue joint?
Oh man, best cinnamon rolls you'll ever have.
Okay.
But I might have to just go get some after we record. But,
after I'm gonna go to sleep and eat Big Mamas now.
Man, so good, so good. Okay, we'll stay focused. But one of the things that I really remember is just how welcoming, and not just welcoming and saying, hey, thanks for being here, but hey, if you really love this community, we have a place for you to plug in. And if it's not here, then let me introduce you to someone else that maybe we can find a place for you to plug in if you want to be a part of the community.
Yeah. No, I definitely felt that way. Obviously, just going through the school district being one entry point. But it was great just to go and talk and just to meet the people in the community, as far as going to the local places here, as far as eat food and just shopping up with people and people being welcome. Being from Miami, I realize in the Midwest, if people love you, you family.
Yeah.
If they don't like you, they ain't gonna like you. So back home is a little different. We got the plastic surgeries and the fakery sometimes, but that was really cool just to see the genuineness of people coming in and welcoming you into their home and, It's been dope. And my neighbors are amazing. The neighbors I have in that vicinity, all 6 of us, how we look out for each other. Somebody's car got stolen one night. We all on a ring cam in the middle of the street. What's going on? We riding tonight? Like, I just met these people. I'm ready to go, ride on somebody for the pickup truck. So that's been great, the neighbors that I have. I really, really love our neighbors.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to, sometimes it's hard to find great neighbors, but not in Raytown.
It's true. It's true.
And so you talk a lot about community. I mean, that's really what we're talking about right now is community. And I think that's a perfect segue into really talking about Serve the World Charities.
Yeah.
Tell me more about Serve the World Charities. I know a bit, but we're gonna learn more.
Yeah. So we're a local nonprofit here in South Kansas City. So we partner with school districts to end the cycle of poverty by ending student homelessness.
Okay.
So the school district is that understanding that there's no thriving community, where the school district is trash. You could be in Milan or you can be in Miami. It doesn't matter. Like, the school district is an anchor, is an institution that attracts new family, that increases the property value, that brings more foot traffic into businesses. So if you look at the history of Raytown, it was like when the school district was thriving, the community was thriving. So for me, it's the idea of how do we break that cycle? Because we deal with the McKinney-Vento population or individuals dealing with housing instability, where it takes one thing for them to be in that cycle. They can get sick, and then after they get sick, they may lose their job, they may lose their car. Now they're getting evicted, and it just continues. And now they're living in an extended stay or they're living in their car. So for us, we break the cycle really about 4 different areas. One is intervention. Somebody is actually in their car in a hotel. We come provide direct services to them to help them. And then once they get stabilized, we focus on something called the Trinity. With housing, transportation, and employment, we get them stable with that. Then it's prevention. Like, how do we be there to help you to not fall back into that place? Mm-hmm. And then lastly, the third one, we really specialize self-development. Like, once you get out of crisis, who do you want to become? It's not just what you do, who do you want to become? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's a difference between I don't smoke anymore, I'm not a smoker.
Yes.
It's identity shift. So family comes in and you're like, hey, I want to own my own business. Okay, cool, Mrs. Jones. Come on with your own business. You'll be able to have catering business to get you connected with getting your culinary arts degree. Let's go to KC SourceLink and understand, develop a business plan.
Right.
And now you got a job at Cooper Hawk. Oh, now you got a card. You can do different things. So it's that real self-development piece we focus on. And then last one is mental health. How do we get you connected to mental health providers? Like, for example, shout out to Seton Center and Rediscover, Jewish Family Services, many other great partners we have to get the mental health services as well. So those are 4 components that we do to help to break the cycle of poverty.
I mean, I think that's incredible. We could probably have 4 different episodes on those pieces, if not more.
Totally.
And I think about I'm going to go back to what you said about when the school district is doing well, right? We had an episode earlier with Charlotte Belger in the Historical Society, and we were looking at the story of Raytown. Yeah. And what we were flipping through the year books, the boards with everybody. Yeah. And you just see the exponential growth in the graduation classes. Yeah. And then she would point out other photos of aerial shots of how the city developed. So it was a direct, whenever you see an increase in population at the schools, you saw more houses being built. You saw more amenities in the city. And so there's this correlation between housing and economic vitality of an area.
Definitely.
And I don't want to sanitize it because we're talking about people.
True.
At the end of the day. But I do frame it that way to say, there's a vested interest in making sure that people are whole. Yes. And have an opportunity to be a part of our community.
I agree wholeheartedly. And then history of Raytown. Everyone knows it's the first tier suburbs. Exploded after World War II, and then you had this population spike in the 70s, and then it kind of declined. And like you said, it's on par with the school districts, with the housing, all these things being correlating with one another. But we do have the bones are still there. Yeah. For Raytown to be on the rise. And to the proximity to Kansas City, the ability, we have a huge diverse population. We have, I was so excited, encouraged last year when we revamped the comprehension plan that haven't been revamped since 1996. And we had the TAP that came in from urban, they able to really look at the prosperity. I think it was Raytona was one of the places they talked about. I said, okay, cool. Being from Florida, I kind of see the connection and the vibe, but it was exciting. Yeah. I'm excited where Raytown is going and the vision that the leadership that we have and continue to get better.
So you talked about, and it makes a lot of sense, but I just want to spell it out. You talked about looking at students.
Yes.
And insecurity, housing insecurity.
Yeah.
With why focus there? There's and we'll get to collaboration in a bit.
Yeah.
But there's organizations that are looking at just working age individuals.
Right.
But why families and students? Why start?
That's a good question. One of the reasons they just one of the most vulnerable, population, and I know it's kind of cheesy, but the students are our future. Shout out to Whitney Houston. But also the McKinney-Vento population is so I don't say underserved, but it's not recognized. Sometimes we can see individuals who may be struggling, who are at like underneath the bridge, or they're at a different place, and they're more visible. But you have a family who's in McKinney-Vento where currently have a family now. It was 12 of them in a 3-bedroom house. Oh wow. And they got all these dynamics that's happening, all these, but they don't go notice. So a lot of the issues, a lot of the problems that they have, whether they're just afraid to say something or they just don't have the ability to say something. So once we get connected with them, they say, oh wow, look at all these here. So for example, in Tudesi, in Johnson County, Wyandotte County, and Jackson County, and this is a rough number, it's about 8,000 students who are McKinney-Vento students. And those who identify as McKinney-Vento students.
Yeah, and define McKinney.
Yeah, McKinney-Vento, thank you. McKinney-Vento is just the federal act that happened in the 80s through the Reagan administration. It simply says that for these students who register as homeless or through housing instability, that we have to find a way as a federal government and the state and the city to help them to get stabilized.
And that's a self-identification?
Yes, so they go through the school district, they register, they'll check a box off and say, I'm McKinney-Vento. And then therefore that triggers, the family support system. Shout out to Lynn and Rachel and the crew over there and Heather. And then they connect with us, So for us, and also it goes back to the vitality of the school district, So if you look at how the school district mostly get their funding, it varies between where it's at, but attendance is a huge one. These are the individuals who struggle with their attendance. So how do we go to the most vulnerable population, help get them housed, help get them secure, help to bring up the barriers they have towards an attendance or academics or so on and so forth, so that at the bottom, we can able to really rise the school district up by focusing on those key metrics with the key population.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's one of those things. So to your point, the most vulnerable, but also when you're helping the student, you're helping the family.
Yes. That's a good point. So in our staff, so we have, shout out to my team, we have 5 social workers, including myself. And so 2 of them focusing on...
You forgot to tell me to put the letters behind your name. Come on now, you earned those. Come on now.
For sure. So we have 2 of the social workers where they focus strictly on the students.
Okay.
So they be going to the high school, Raytown South, Raytown High, and meet with the students all about enrichment. Let's get you connected with resources. We're going to do SMART goals. Let's get you prepared for after college. To go to college or trade school.
Right.
A statistic shows that once a kid go to college, you break the cycle of poverty way more extensively. So, and then the other 3 social workers, they work with the parents. So the parents is focusing on housing, transportation, employment, self-development. They come to our classes that we may have or other community partners we connect with, and we're building the whole family, in a comprehensive way.
Love that. Because I can imagine, right, if you're taking any of those 4 steps, those 4 areas, if you're focusing on only 2, then maybe the other 2 are out of whack. Or you're just trying to balance and provide that full service honestly, everybody could probably use that.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie.
I can't build a business plan. I can. I just can't organically do it without direction.
Yes.
So it's an invaluable. Not just that, but a lot of the work it sounds like that you all do is invaluable and something that can be carried on even after, you might work with the eldest child in a family.
Yes.
And then there's a child who's, 6 years later, but by the time that child is a high school senior, maybe they're, learning some of those lessons that were
definitely
were learned over the years.
That's a good point. Because we have a 12-month program where the family comes in the program, but we stay with the family till the youngest child graduate from high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So once the family graduate they have a graduation coming up in May. So once they go through the program, after that we have a quarterly check-in with them. And at the end of the 14-month, we have a 5-year plan we create with them. So if you have a kid that's, in, New Trails, we're going to see you for a while.
Yeah.
We're going to be all in your business for a long time, So we stay with them and we track with them, And the cool thing now, because we have families who graduate our program, now they're giving back to the newer families now. Just recent this week, we had an alumni who graduated from the program and now is a manager at Extended Stay, and now she's able to provide a job and a home for one of our current Raytown families.
Wow!
So it was like a quick phone call. I'll love to do it. I love you guys. Let's do it. And I have a job open for him. So we was able to remove two barriers at one time, based off of that alumni in the program, because we stay connected with them and we have a 5-year plan with them. So yeah, it's to the youngest child graduate from high school.
I'm glad we stumbled there, because I should have asked that question. How many years? How many? I guess you can answer it a few different ways. How many years have you all been working with families, and how many families have completed the program?
Oh, great question. So for us, the Serve the World has been around since 2014. And at the time, it was primarily just our pantry. South Kansas City was our events that we partnered with the Evangel Church, like Fireworks at Evangel, Day of Hope, things of that nature. And then 2019, it expanded to the Impact program that we have now. And so 2019, we started in Center School District. So we were in Center. We was a Center School District, and then we came to Raytown beginning of 2024. That we've been here, and so I've been here for 5 years as program director, and so we're looking forward to continue to keep expanding in the future as we get school district stabilized. So Center has been a major partner for us at the beginning. How do we go and reduce? When we first went to Center, they mentioned it was about this when Dr. Cargile was there, and the rest of them was there. It was like, hey, we have identified 130 students who are McKinney-Vento students. So it's okay, in the 5-year span, how do we cut that by 50%? Which we were able to do the first, not by 50%, we cut it by 38%, according to the school district. So the idea was moving into Raytown, how can we duplicate that? So we have over 100 students, who's been in the program, who's graduated from the program, who are stable. Wow. Where we can go back and say, this is the individual that we know who are stable. We have 80% of our families who get housed, remain housed over a year. That they continue to remain housed. We have a partnership with the landlords. We're checking in with the individual every quarter to see that they're still good, and we're able to be stable. And also currently right now that we're focused on how do we get our families to at least make a minimum of $20 an hour per hour. So for us, because you know how it is, it's I love Hy-Vee, but they be jacking up them prices,
sure.
In Walmart, whomever. So how do we get them to have $20 an hour so they can have just a foundation to build off? So like connect the Chamber of Commerce. So Goodwill is an amazing partner. FEC is a great partner. They give them jobs so we can just have some building capacity. So, this year, we're anticipating to accept 20 new families in Raytown. So that's about 60 more students that we want to work with this school year.
Okay, and I certainly I do want to talk about the patchwork that is in place.
Yeah.
That you all rely on. You've mentioned a few organizations already, but before we kind of turn to that nuts and bolts, I want to talk more about the families.
Let's go. Yeah.
So when we're talking about the families experiencing instability, I think we can probably come up with a Hollywood TV version of what a family that has some instability. I'm thinking like Aaron Brockovich, right? From like the 90s. Yeah. But what is the reality of that experience for families today?
Now, I appreciate the question, just because they're the one, we help them. We say we're coaches, we're not saviors, only Jesus saves, we don't save anybody. But they're the one who, if they buy into it, they're the one really doing the work, So I give an example of a family coming in. I give the example of the family that was in an extended stay. So when we met them, it was 7 of them living in an extended stay in a 1-bedroom. And the mom of this, she had an amazing job of make sure that one room was the best room. I couldn't believe it. I walked in, I was like, wow. Beds came out, they're folded. She made it work. But it was the fact of that they had barriers. They had whether evictions or they had utility barriers that individuals couldn't rent to them. Or before it was not 2 times the rent, now it was 3 times the rent of the gross that you have to make. So that was another barrier. So for her situation, her self-development goals that I want to be in hospitality. I said, okay, you kind of in a hotel now. Why don't maybe you work here for a little bit and then maybe you can able to get move up a little bit. Long story short, the guy who was working there, the manager at the time, got caught with embezzlement. They got him up out of there. It was like a movie. And they was like, wow, you're here. Maybe do you want to go for this position to becoming like the director of the hotel? So she was able to get it. We was able to support her. She was able to get house. She was able to purchase a car. Long story short, she was able to get into now. She's the manager at the extended stay over here by I-70, preparing for the World Cup, of all things that's going. Her kids were able to, she had one kid who graduated from high school, able to get her a vehicle. Another kids are just going through the pipeline of getting, being stable. And the home that she's in, that was 2 years ago, and they're still in that home, thriving. So they're the one who's doing the work. They're the ones that see the barriers that are out there as rent gets more expensive, rent is more crazy, groceries more expensive, so on and so forth. So it's us coming alongside of them and believing that people are closest to the problem are closest to the solution. So how do I listen to you? How do I ground you and say, how do we come along you and coach you and help you to get where you want to go?
Yeah. One of the things, I'll thank my therapist after a session. She's like, you do all the work.
You're like, well, I'll pay you for it.
Yeah, right. What are we doing? But it is great to have that coach in different ways, right? And so for you all, it sounds like you're that coach that when there's the force multiplier of, well, you have an eviction, so there's a box we're going to disqualify you, or there was maybe a foreclosure on a home, or you add all those things up, even repossessing the vehicle.
Yes.
These things make it harder for individuals to just try to get restarted and get back into a flow towards stability. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you all figure out what those barriers look like and how you can plug them into other resources in place, things that you all can do today.
Yeah, definitely. Great point. And we're coaches. So first is the emotional thing. Like, you can call me. We can have, I don't know how many times, my wife said to me, what's that phone number at 9:00 at night? I was like, this is a client, I got to go and help, because the house is burning, literally, or something else happened like that. But it's definitely that coaching piece, but also it's the direct resources that we do give them. For example, with landlords, we have something called turnkey agreement. So it was like, understand housing is an asset, but also a shelter. So we go for the family, it's shelter. For the landlord is an asset.
Right.
So how do we bridge that gap? So we come with the landlord and say, hey, not only will we pay first on rent and deposit, but we'll be that middleman to make sure we mitigate the risk that you have on the back end if something was to happen. So if that means that family's behind 1 month, we'll stand in the gap. And then for the family is, okay, why are you behind that month?
Right.
We do budgets with them. We're using their bank statements. Let's figure out where your spending habits are. Or do you need to get another job? Or we need to figure out something to make sure that doesn't reoccur again next month. So you have that piece of real collaboration on both sides, and then partnerships. Shout out to Hope Network. I mean, Jackie Nordis, like, she is the GOAT. I love Jackie, So we had a situation, we had a family who we helped them purchase a car. We found a real reliable dealer on Facebook Marketplace. As you know, that's probably like a landmine. You may find a guy who just going to sell you a hope and a dream, but this was actually a good person. And so we helped them purchase a car for $1,200. Called Jackie. He was like, Jackie, he need tags. He's riding dirty like Chameleonaire. We need something. And so we was able to help get the tag secure. We was able to give him insurance, and he was on their way. Now that helps him to go get a job, build a foundation. So it's direct services, is coaching, but also is collaborating. We can't make this lift alone. So every month we have a coalition meeting at Hope Network. At Connection Point, where we just bring different community partners to come together and say who can do what and how can we collaborate together, knowing that if the school district rises, we're all going to be positively impacted by this.
If I'm somebody that wants to be plugged in to help do some of the work, or maybe I'm working with somebody or an organization that's doing some work and maybe want to get plugged in, can you tell me more about that coalition meeting?
Yeah, so the coalition meeting is typically every second Tuesday of the month at Connection Point Church, and we meet by 1 to 2, 1 to 3, and just collaborating together. For example, this last meeting yesterday, we focusing on what is the major barriers that we need: housing, transportation, employment, and childcare. So it was like we did a community asset mapping. Who knows this? Who knows that? Any connection to that place? I know Jeff at the Chamber of Commerce said, okay, maybe I have a guy here to plug for jobs, or Meryl from Exceed Expectation and say, may I have this? Or Carmen to say, I may know a church that, So we get the where's the community, where's the assets, and how can we go and plug in? Or it could, again, be direct services. REAP has helped out in the past with families, or Hope Network. Jason Sneed is another great partner where we'll go to his church sometime and do Impact Fellowship, Impact Family Night, which is the one-stop shop, or River Edge Fellowship, with Pastor Travis. They're amazing. We had our Thanksgiving event on last year, and the kids when they were cutting potatoes and doing all the work. We had a turkey. That's another thing. Shout out to Jason and Hy-Vee. Gave us some free turkeys that we have at our event.
Great.
So it's all of that gumbo in that collaborative approach.
Well, I mean, and so the need, and that I asked kind of what are the things that we really need to make sure we touch on, and it's that the need is greater than one might expect.
Yes.
But to address said need, there has to be probably twice as much collaboration.
Oh yeah, definitely. And one of the major needs we need in South Kansas City and East Jackson County in general is transitional housing. It's River Refuge does a great job. Hillcrest does a great job. There's nobody else, And then if you look at the migration patterns, whether it's through vacancy rates, Zillow, wherever, most people are moving south and moving east because Kansas City is just not becoming affordable for people to live. So as they move in this corridor, like a Raytown, first-tier suburbs, they don't have the amenities and the infrastructure that you have 55th and Olive, so a bus line, or transitional housing, so on and so forth. So that is a desperate need, because if someone comes delivering in a vehicle and they need time to work on the barriers or time to different things, where they're going to go. Hotels are booked or they're too expensive. So we need a place where they can be so we can have a time to build, then get them into permanent housing.
Absolutely.
So I think that is one of the greatest needs here in South Kansas City that we're partnering with to try to solve and bring some solutions to.
Yeah, how does, maybe this is a great place to talk about, how does your all's work and working with these families and these students, how does it really plug into the Raytown Rising focus and vision for the next 10 years or so?
Great question. One is, again, focus on the school district, building the school district much as we can we focus on the McKinney-Vento population, how to get them stabilized, attendance, academics, behavior, so on and so forth. And then also just me being part of Raytown, the planning and zoning board that's there, or other different coalitions that they have in the city, we're focusing on. And another one is transitional housing I mentioned. How do we build more transitional housing? So we have some potential investors that are saying that, hey, how do we build something to have that here?
And how is transitional housing different than,
great question,
a duplex, a hotel, a standalone home?
Yeah. So transitional housing it's like a temporary place, 3 to 6 months that someone can go that's rent free. They don't have that expensive rent, so they can just build, whether save till the next home, work on their credit, so on and so forth. It's like an intermediate period where they can be at to build towards permanent housing. So that is something that we're heavily focusing on. How do we get transitional housing here? So if anybody have a hotel you want to donate to us, feel free. Shout out to Restart. I know y'all got what y'all got. If anybody have a hotel you want to donate, we'll love it. Yeah. But we need transitional housing in South Kansas City, Eastern Jackson County. So those are what we're doing. Focus on the McKinney-Vento population, continue to collaborate, and then how do we build a sustainable model with River Refuge is doing in Hillcrest to South Kansas City, because we desperately need it.
Yeah. And the through line through all that is education.
Yes.
I mean, like you said, with working with the students, you want to make sure those students get graduated. But
yes.
The parents go through their own graduation
they
as
do.
well.
They do.
So they can, so they can learn how to kind of break that cycle that it's no one's fault that they're in. It's
True.
I mean, we're in America, and there's just flows that happen.
Yes.
And sometimes our zip code decides that.
Yes.
And sometimes it's just maybe you felt ill. And all of a sudden your family is behind the 8 ball and needs that help. It sounds like kind of educating, coaching, definitely. Opening doors for families and individuals. That's what changes the outcomes whenever they're able to find those spots.
No, you're spot on. It's education is huge, and we frame it like far as just self-development. Yeah. How do you, again, who do you want to become rather than what you just want to do? And in that process, you got to educate. So for us, we focus on habit building with our family, and we keep it simple: financial management, time management, and smart career goals. How do you move towards that? And then career development is how do we push you to wherever you want to go, as far as connect you community partners or direct services. So education is huge. I remember I had a family, we helped her build her business, and I was like, all right. I was like, where do we start? Do you have your own budget you work on? You have a personal budget? If we're at a business budget, can we have a personal budget? We got to make those things, do what they do before we work on. So education is huge. We tell our families that you never want your housing income to exceed 30%. And for our families, that's mind blowing for them. It's like, what, 30%? And it's like, they go and do the math. I'm spending 60% of my income on my family. Or smart guys, shout out to Aldo, as far as purchasing a car, you have the 23-8 rule. You don't put 20% down, never let the financing go over 3 years, and only 8% of your income. So we sit down with our families and be like, I know I'm spending, 15% on my vehicle. So how do we work together to get out of that conundrum?
And it sounds like it works both ways too. The experience of working with families, you're able to kind of help the community,
Yes.
on the official, unofficial, just nonprofits trying to do things, or even if to the board, the planning commission is considering what they want Raytown to look like. There's an advocate, someone that can help bring together those experiences, bring them along to tell their own experiences, but also be somebody in the room when, not everybody, we got to work. We got to be at work, right? We got to raise our kids. And then that's an opportunity for you all to say, hey, look, we've worked with these families, and this is what our families are seeing in some of these decisions.
No, I agree. Shout out to Diane, with City of Raytown, and she helped me think about this word, like a community broker. Mm-hmm. How do you bring these different individuals together to focus on a key institution, which is a school, and all those things like in that gumbo pot, So yeah, it's all of us working together, to and I'm not from Kansas City, but being in here, I realized a lot of people doing a lot of great work in Kansas City. A lot of philanthropic. It's amazing, per capita what we able to do. But sometimes it's a gap there as far as collaborating. The idea of my coaches to tell me, don't worry about the name on the back of the jersey. Worry about the name on the front of the jersey. Absolutely. In front of the jersey is these families who need empowerment. Now, in the back of the jersey is Serve the World. Cool. We want to pat ourselves on the back, but what about the name? Let's focus people on the front of the jersey. So that's what the need for more collaboration, that we can work together, to serve whomever that it is in Raytown and the greater Kansas City.
Yeah, I think that's great. Great work that you all are doing. It sounds like great momentum too.
It's been exciting.
And even from our pre-show conversation, just the people. And look, hey, you're gonna have folks writing in our comments. Can we have every guest just shout out everybody so we know who's doing what?
Yeah.
You're doing a great job in that aspect, but it does really show just how deeply rooted into the community the work is. And like you said, can't do it alone.
No.
Many hands make for light work.
Yes.
And there's many hands in Kansas City that care and are doing some work as well.
Yes, they are. I mean, it's very philanthropic. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. So look, we got our scarf here.
Okay.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you.
Where's the model at? Jeff knows me model. He's our model with the scarf. Where's Jeff at? Yeah.
Jeff said no modeling today. He doesn't do that on Wednesdays.
Okay.
But,
cool.
I am curious, and I'll admit there's a lot of World Cup conversation.
Yeah.
And I try not to have the same World Cup conversation, but I think this is a unique setting to ask how are you all looking at the World Cup with families that are on the edge of instability? And then we got people coming, I'll just pause and say, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get to the grocery store. Right? So I can't imagine everything else that might be trying to be balanced during that time.
Man, it's foresight. It's a great question. I don't know what I don't know because I never really experienced the World Cup. You see the European fans, how rabid they is, but I think positively is going to really help Raytown being so adjacent to what's going on that people actually can walk. I think they said the radius that people are going to be booking hotels in St. Louis. So they're going to have to at some point come through Raytown to get. So I think that's going to be huge to highlight, what we do have here, that hasn't been, highlighted before. Different businesses, different things like that. We have amazing, museum. I was so sad when breakfast and lunch level left. I was like, Marvin, do an amazing job. But there's so many other things that we can highlight. For our families in particular, some of the things, we're seeing it now. It's just a majority of families who are housing instability living in hotels, and the hotels are booking out for the World Cup. Where is those individuals are going to go? So how's the city? How's the county? How are we going to prepare for that? It can't be how it was in Johannesburg, South Africa, where we're going to act like everything's good and put people to the side. It's we really have to have a strategic plan, and I'm sure people are, because I'm not part of the World Cup meetings of what do we do to help those who are most vulnerable. It can't be we're going to put them in a warehouse in South Kansas City and hopefully we have some ventilation to keep them there. It has to be a real effort of how we're going to help us. So for us, in our end is, how can we be frugal with the amount of resources we have because it's limited, and also how we can continue to build our housing partnerships to say we need somebody here. And lastly is we're full dash ahead. We need transitional housing. We need transitional housing desperately, So if it's a home or as a place, somewhere we're able to house the families that we're working with. And again, like I mentioned, it's 8,000 students who are McKinney-Vento, in the region, but that's just those that's been identifiable. So you could just imagine what that number is going to be and how they're going to be impacted. And then also just, the travel, is going to be something that's going to be transportation is going to be a nightmare. So for those are some of the adverse things that we think is going to impact our Family of the World Cup. And lastly, I would say this. We know a lot of people are going to benefit from the World Cup, but how do we, much as possible as a city, go using some of those resources to impact those individuals that's there? What I mean by that, not just saying we're going to build something and people could come get a job. Hey, we got a job for you. It's like, how are you building?
And then two months later, 6 weeks later.
Exactly. Like, how are we building infrastructure, in the, in communities? If it's a food desert here, if you're coming in and providing a service to the area and we're providing with a workforce, like, how do you providing helping with infrastructure there in any type of way? Is it pop-up shops, you're creating a space, or whatever you can do, to help that situation, whether it's food, whether it's transportation, anything. I know in Raytown in particular, we need transportation. Iris doesn't even pass through here anymore. So how kiddos in Raytown is going to able to get connected to other parts of the city? The bowling house is cool. I love the bowling place, but I can't bowl for 365 days of the year. So it's the idea is, how do we connect these kids? Idle hands. We wanted them to be focused. So those are the things. Whatever the resources and the impact that come from the benefit of the region, how do we get those dollars and those resources to build institution for those who are most vulnerable?
Yeah, because I asked that question because a lot of the conversation has just been talking about, and there's plenty of reason to be excited.
True.
And there's all the excitement. There's what's going where and how that's happening.
Yeah.
But one really important conversation is what about the families that are here?
Yeah.
And how are we Kansas Cityans in the region? Sorry if you don't qualify yourself as a kid. We're in the Kansas City region, so we're Kansas Cityans.
We fly the Chief flag.
Yeah,
we all right. Yeah.
But there are real impacts to everybody, and so to have a conversation that doesn't include what that impact looks like might not be the full conversation. And,
Agreed.
It sounds like some of those conversations are being had. There's obviously more work to be done, but like you said, we've never seen this. We don't know anything about what this will be like.
We don't know what we don't know.
So it sounds like you all are doing great work to try to prepare, not just for that, but just in general. And I think the big thing about the World Cup is talking about legacy and what are we going to learn during this time.
Facts, yeah.
To your point, perhaps maybe we better under it. You all are well aware, but the royal we understand more the importance of having housing available of all sorts, and that being a vital piece of keeping our communities and our families within our communities whole. And if anything, let's do it for the kids, right?
You gotta do it for the kids. Yeah.
And so I asked you if there's anything that you needed to plug, and you mentioned the third Wednesdays.
Yes, so thank you. So third Wednesday of the month, we have our Impact Family Nights at River Edge Fellowship. Shout out to Portia Seals, the Caring for Kid Network, and Pastor Terry. They're amazing. So essentially, Impact Family Nights kind of one-stop shop, where it's we provide resources. We provide, like, far as direct resources to those that are not families in our program. Also, we provide food. Also, we have normally a speaker come in and focus on self-development. Stacey Williams with Mom Can We Speak? Or, for example, tonight we have vendors coming in. Great job, KC, Goodwill, Rediscover, Jewish Family Services coming. Because our families, because they're busy, they're working multiple jobs sometimes, just come here, come eat, get inspired, come get resources. So that's every third Wednesday of the month from 5 to 7 at River Edge Fellowship. And then we have a Mother's Day event coming up, on April 29th. So if anybody wants to contribute to that, we need some nail technicians, we need some massage therapists, we need some people to do some amazing things. And then we're just going to shower and love on our moms and say, we appreciate you. I can just hear Tupac in my mind right now. Like, dear mama.
Yeah.
So, so that'll be April 29th that we have coming up just to love on our moms and show they appreciate it.
No, I think that's great. Both events are great opportunities for families. I will share one thing, if I might be so self-indulgent. I volunteered one spring break in Atlanta at some organization, and the director, she was there with us the first 2 days. She's I'm not gonna be here the third day.
Okay.
But I'll be here in the afternoon. She came back, her nails were done, she got her hair done.
Yeah.
I didn't think anything about it, but she's like, I want you guys to know that I appreciate you being here because I've not had an opportunity to go take care of me the way that I want to.
That's true.
And you being here created that opportunity. So when you mentioned that Mother's Day event, thinking about the work that it takes to be a parent, to be a mom, And that's really great that you're going to have an opportunity for moms to one-stop shop, get some that self-care, get something poured back into them.
Facts.
And so that they can have that opportunity when they might not make that time, have that time or the ability. That's really important.
I agree. You know, so we just want to love on them and show them that they appreciate it, you know. And but yeah, that's April 29th. We're pretty excited about that. We have some other events in the year, but that's something that's pressing right now.
Well, hey, now we know who you are. We know where to find you. And thank you for being on Talk Raytown. And this is really what, for me, this podcast is about. Yes, we're going to talk about all the nuts and bolts of what's happening in the community. What is a bond, and how does that money get paid? But there's a lot in between that. That's like the human aspect of being in a community, that we feel it, and it's always good to uplift the folks doing the work, but also uplift the work.
Yes.
Like you said, the name on the front. And it's our families.
It is. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been great. Make sure that you check out our next episode of Talk Raytown. I have a feeling it's going to be good. It's got a high bar. And so thank you for taking the time to listen, and we'll see you next time.
Cool.